Welcome to Turnpike Sports. I'm Dave Weischadle, and as always, I'm joined by my producer and co-host, Doug Weischadle. Doug, an interesting thing happened last week.
Just one?
Yeah, well, one thing for me, I was just, it's not interesting, it's just shocking how passe I was about it, and I rarely use the word passe, by the way. But the match took place, the golf tournament, I won't call it a tournament, the golf round, with Brady and Rodgers and Mahomes and Allen, and I didn't care.
No, I didn't care either.
First off, it kind of snuck up on me. I actually realized it was on when I looked at a sports book, and they had a special on the match, and I was like, oh, yeah, the match is happening. And I don't know. I just didn't care about it this year. I didn't place any bets. I didn't do anything with it.
The one thing I didn't like about it this year, and it probably was the turnoff, there were no golfers.
Yeah, it was four quarterbacks.
It was four quarterbacks, and I really don't have any interest
Brady
in
and
seeing
Rodgers ended up winning it, but
yeah.
But I didn't.
I'm sure they had a lot of fun.
I guess it was, I was so wrapped up in baseball. I was so wrapped up in the NBA playoffs or the NHL playoffs. I forgot it was on and didn't care about it when it was, and
Honestly, I didn't care too much about it last year. I watched it, some of it last year. I just wasn't into it last year. This year, I just didn't find the pairings interesting.
Well, last year I think I placed some bets, and last year I don't think it was this time of year. By the way, the first match was the best.
Yes,
it was. I think it
actually
was
the first two.
The first one was Mickelson and Tiger Woods, and it was. I think it was the day after Thanksgiving, which was a great time to have something like that. I remember sitting in a sports bar having my phone out, and I was betting on each hole, and it was like a lot of fun. And I wonder if the thrill has worn off of this thing.
Well, the one match that was really fun. It wasn't great golf, but it was really fun, was when Charles Barkley was doing the commentating
yes.
and Brady was playing. That was actually the best of the televised matches.
Barkley should be playing every year on that.
Or at least commentating.
By the way, I didn't even watch it. He could well have been commentating. I don't even know.
I shouldn't
That's
say
what I mean. I was avoiding
it.
saying that. I didn't watch it all. But when Barkley is playing, that's a fun time. But who knows? I didn't see one bit of it.
No, I didn't. No, neither did I.
Well, we got a great show coming up for you. We got a Beatin The House segment. And for my interview, I'm talking with Jill Dorson from usbets.com, SportsHandle, and Better Collective. She's going to run down some of the biggest news stories in the sports betting world. Today's trip down the Turnpike is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com.
Exit 1.
I have to admit, I normally don't bring up articles that I've read in this exit, but
really?
Play
Well, where do you get your information?
I do the statistics and the research.
Oh,
and all that
you
other
actually
stuff.
go to the source.
Yes, I actually.
Okay,
but
right.
PlayCalifornia.com had a very interesting article recently regarding the way the PGA Tour and the LPGA Tour appear to be handling sports betting.
I'm glad I brought up the match then in the beginning.
It was a very golf-oriented conversation.
Yeah, no, it's all golf all the time on Turnpike Sports.
But I have to admit, what they pointed out a couple differences in terms of the sports betting entities involved in the live events. Not the online betting or the online stuff like that, but...
Well, the interesting thing is certainly, LPGA is great golf. I mean, they're amazing professionals, and it's really exciting golf. Unfortunately, the men events get more airplay. They get more ratings, and I guess, is that what we're looking at?
We're looking at the fact that there is a lack of a sports betting presence on the courses for the LPGA Tour.
Oh, on the actual courses?
On the actual courses.
Okay.
And they drew...
I haven't noticed sports betting. Are there sports betting logos around the courses and things like that?
Here's the comparison they drew. They compared an LPGA Tour event that was held recently in Clifton, New Jersey.
Okay.
And then they compared it to a PGA event that was held. It was the PGA Tour North Jersey event. It was held in Jersey City.
Okay, so both in North Jersey. So
Right, both in Jersey.
So
Retail, online betting, gaga. Everyone
Okay.
goes gaga over that stuff.
Yep.
We'll start with the PGA Tour first, and this was where I thought was interesting. Back in 2019, they did 2019, then they did 2021 to compare more recent comparison. Back in 2019, when FanDuel got involved with the PGA Tour, FanDuel had the first round beer garden at the 13th hole.
Okay.
And it was a little tent setup where people helped fans sign up for the online app for FanDuel. Two years later, 2021, you have the DraftKings house at the 16th hole. Same
Okay.
event, but it's the DraftKings house.
All right.
It's a huge hospitality tent where it was, people signing up, people doing meet and greets. It was a huge spectacle.
Sure.
The LPGA Tour had an event, like I said, the Cognizant Founders Cup in
Okay.
Clifton, New Jersey. There was nothing in terms
Okay.
of sports betting entities on the course.
Mm-hmm.
And you could bet on LPGA just
Sure.
as much as you can bet on the
Sure.
PGA
Sure.
Tour. And they just don't seem to have any kind of interest in promoting or having a sports betting presence on the tour itself.
Well,
the
when you
physical
say
tour.
they, do you mean the sports
LPGA
books
Tour.
themselves?
No, the LPGA Tour.
Okay. All right.
BetMGM, which is a sponsor.
Of
they-
what?
Of the LPGA Tour.
Okay.
They said that they weren't going to be offering signage or activations at their course in Atlantic City's golf tournament
Okay.
for the LPGA Tour, which I kind of found it kind of interesting. And I don't know if I drew the same conclusion when I was looking at this article.
Okay. And by the way, where was the article from?
Play California.
Play California. Okay.
They said that the LPGA is specifically ignoring a lot of the sports betting activations that they could have on the
Interesting.
events themselves.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Did they go approach the sports betting operators, or did they ask for comment on that? Or
They got comments here and there, and they also got comments from other sources too, other different articles too.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, they did quote NJ Online Gambling,
Okay.
the BetMGM official. That was where they got that quote from.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if it's a matter of the LPGA reading their audience a little bit more critically than the PGA. PGA just threw it out there.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if the LPGA Tour audience has a slightly different attitude towards sports betting.
Well, I know it'd be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm curious of what the reasonings behind the decisions were. I mean, is it ratings? Like I said, the men's PGA really gets a lot of ratings. They're on every weekend, and you know they really hype them up and things like that. And unfortunately, the LPGA doesn't get that kind of publicity. And maybe
starting to though.
Yeah, no, it's great golf. It's great players there, and but I'm wondering if it's like a business decision from the sportsbook operators saying, you know what, we will get more of a return on our investment if we go with the men's tour instead of the women's tour. So I'm very curious to see what kind of rationale they have for doing what they're doing with the PGA and the LPGA.
It wasn't clear who was making those decisions. It came across like the tours themselves were deciding when and where to have the sports betting activations.
Okay.
And maybe Jersey seemed to be a perfect place for it.
Well, you know what? It's good that they looked at Play California looked at two tournaments in the same area of the country, so they kind of kept it kind of this is what happened in a similar market.
Yes.
It was actually the same market.
I mean, could it be just what's the phrase people use in golf? Reading the green.
Maybe
that's
who knows?
how the LPGA Tour is approaching this. They may just start looking at event by event basis.
I am
more so
always
than just
fascinated
overall.
by the business of sports betting, and that goes to the decisions in marketing.
Yes.
You know, they have so many stats that they look at. They have so many considerations that they have to go through. It's very interesting, and I'm very curious to see why they made the decisions that they're making. So, hey, maybe they'll do a follow-up.
Maybe.
Exit 2.
Vegas seems to have snagged another industry event, a major industry event, I should say.
Okay.
The eSports Awards.
Oh, okay.
Now, it may not be big for a lot of the other sports industry sectors, but the eSports Awards, this is the 7th eSports Awards that's going to be happening.
Well, let me tell you something.
First one in Vegas.
Yeah, well, really, where was the first one?
The previous 3 were held in Texas.
Well, first off, Texas is huge in esports,
Yes.
and I guess Vegas is also huge in esports. I mean, what is the Luxor is there? That's
Yes.
that's one of the
Luxor has the
the
HyperX.
key places. The HyperX, is that the
HyperX
HyperX Arena?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, no, it's
Unfortunately, the Luxor is not doing this.
well, I'm just saying
Yes.
it's a big area for esports. Who's doing it? This year?
Resorts World.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful casino.
Yeah, no, I had who did I have on? The CEO or the president
The
on?
president.
Okay, yeah, no, it was no. It's a state-of-the-art facility too, and so it's the perfect place for esports.
And it's got that outside LED wall that actually promotes different things happening. So I just found it kind of interesting that 3 years in Texas, and now Vegas is starting to snag all these events back. You got more and more MLB teams.
Well,
You're looking at maybe another pro basketball team.
I mean, Vegas is where you go to have fun and do a vacation, and Vegas is one big resort.
Yes.
So it's a perfect place for these things. So
The 2022 ceremony will be held at Resorts World Las Vegas.
okay.
Is
Is it like a black tie event kind of thing? Is it like the Oscars?
People it is. For some people it is.
That's cool. So
And
that's great.
going back to where it was in Texas, it was eSports Stadium Arlington, which
Okay.
is owned by, I believe, co-owned or invested into by Jerry Jones.
Okay. All right.
Because he does the Legends eSports team.
Sure. Now everyone's getting involved
Yes.
in esports.
Yes, and
So wait, there's an esports event or a conference that we
the
have
Casino
on every.
eSport Conference.
Yes. Okay, yeah. Ari Fox.
Yes.
Runs it. Yeah.
I'm
sure we're going to have him on pretty soon
Yes,
because
they're-
it's
well, they're
about that
actually-
time of year.
And congratulations to Ari. They just announced a second event during the year. It's going to be held in Atlantic City.
Oh, okay,
or
great.
the Atlantic City area.
Okay.
It's over at Stockton. I'm blanking on the name right now, and I apologize, Ari. But
the actual official name
the
of the
official name
conference.
of it, and I apologize.
We'll
but,
tweet it out.
Yeah.
So.
But I just thought this was kind of interesting to see how, since Vegas opened up, they're starting to get more and more. They just had the draft. The
Sure,
NFL draft.
sure.
Now they're getting the eSports Awards, and the eSports Awards actually have become a milestone
Okay.
for a lot of these teams out there. Verizon just signed back on for its 3rd straight year as its sponsor.
All right.
They're going to be putting their name on the eSports Mobile Player of the Year award.
Okay.
eSports Mobile Game of the Year.
Well, I'm glad you're mentioning that because what are some of the categories? Because I is it like every time we talk about esports, certainly we
there's
talk about the
so many
players, we
different
talk about the
categories.
games, but then we talk about like the sneakers and the clothing line and who has a team and who doesn't have a team and things like that.
Well, there's
I think last week or 2 weeks ago we had Gucci forming an
and
academy.
Gucci and also Disney doing their
At
apparel
Disney,
line.
yeah. So I'm very curious to see how many categories there are in this esports
Well,
thing.
there's tons of categories.
Yeah.
Like I said, Mobile Player of the Year.
Okay.
They've got Mobile Game of the Year. They've also got there's an entire section of mobile awards. There's an entire section of console awards.
I would guess
There's
teams
Player of the
and
Year,
stuff.
Team of the Year,
Yeah, I would
all
guess
that stuff.
Okay.
It's basically everything you want in an esports event thrown in together. And this is the 7th year it's doing it. And this
Okay.
is the first year in Las Vegas.
Wow.
So
okay.
congratulations to Vegas for snagging a good event there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Drizzly makes it easy to shop a huge selection of beer, wine, and liquor from wherever I am. I just open the app, find what I want, and it's at my door in under 60 minutes.
Drizzly.
Ding dong, Drizzly.
Exit 3.
We're shifting gears slightly.
All
We're
right.
still staying in the electronic area. We're going to be talking poker NFTs.
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about.
Virtue poker. Virtue poker.
Virtue poker.
I'm having
this
trouble
is
here.
this is Phil Ivey, right?
This is one of
By the way,
Phil
he-
Ivey's. One of Phil Ivey's.
Okay. By the way, you're going to explain this, but he already cashed already in the. I know we're taping this, and it's probably released a week into the World Series of Poker, but no, Phil Ivey actually cashed already. So
Yes, yes.
which ties in,
Congratulations
which
to Phil.
may tie into the story here. I don't know.
I don't think it was the WSOP Players Championship.
Oh, okay. It has to be that one thing?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
All right. Yeah, go ahead. Tell me what Virtue Poker is doing.
Virtue Poker is launching a series of new innovations on their gaming website. It's not they just don't do poker; they do other types of gaming as well. But they are in the poker area launching a whole slew of NFTs in conjunction with Phil Ivey.
Yes.
They're Phil Ivey NFTs basically, and the hook to this is if you purchase one of these Phil Ivey NFTs, you get entered into a drawing to win. Let me get the percentage right.
I think it's 5%.
5% of Ivey's action in the $50,000 WSOP Players Championship.
See, that's pretty cool.
Now, the funny part is the last year's winner of this championship banked $1 million. So you're talking.
So what's 5% of $1 million?
You're talking about $50,000.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow. It's a good take.
Yes. And they're
for just getting an NFT, right?
For just getting an NFT. Well, you still
you
have to
keep
go through the drawing. You have
do
to
you get to keep the NFT? I mean, you don't give the
yeah.
So you get an NFT and a chance to win Phil Ivey's some of Phil Ivey's poker action.
Yes, and
that's pretty
let's
cool.
back up a little bit.
All right.
Basically, the NFTs, players are going to be allowed a limit of 5 NFTs to buy.
Okay.
Because I think every NFT is tied into the drawing. So if you buy 5 NFTs, you get 5 drawings.
It's an interesting way to stake a poker player. I think it's pretty cool. I wonder if it's going to be the future of staking poker players. Get an NFT and also get a chance to win something.
Well, according to the press release, everybody who purchases an NFT gets the following benefits.
Okay.
Free site credits with Virtue Poker.
All right.
Access to special events, including celebrity tournaments.
Okay.
Passport to the Virtue Poker metaverse when that's built.
All right.
They're in the process of building it.
Okay.
And the metaverse will offer 2D and 3D digital gaming experiences. So it's going to be a totally immersive poker atmosphere.
Okay.
When you buy one of these.
Will I have to wear one of those
goggle
optical things?
I would assume.
What's the technical name for these things? Those things you put on your face.
You mean the VR headset?
VR headset. That's what I was going for. Yeah. So it's
yes.
You would need one of those things.
You need the goggles.
Okay.
Yes.
The goggles. All right.
The winner not only gets the 5% of Phil Ivey's action, they will get a special Phil Ivey. I want to get this right. A special Phil Ivey Virtue Poker Dog NFT with a digital signature from Phil Ivey.
What do you mean dog? What does that mean?
That's what they're
a dog?
A dog version of Phil Ivey.
Okay. Yes. All right. That's weird.
That's what it reads. That's
okay.
what it reads.
What did it say?
Virtue, your special Phil Ivey Virtue Poker Dog NFT.
Okay.
Complete with digital signature from Phil Ivey.
Well, see, now I'm intrigued.
Really?
Yeah. Well, the dog thing threw me, but now I'm very intrigued.
Well, what's confusing is
can I take a look at it, or is there a way I
there
go?
was nothing on the website for
okay. All right.
But the one thing people have to realize, don't get this confused, there's another NFT collection out there called Poker Dog.
Okay.
So this is not them.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
That's what threw me off a little bit.
All right.
Too,
okay. All right.
It's Virtue Poker Dog NFT. It's a special one. It's not being offered for sale. It's part of the drawing.
Oh, so that's something you can win.
That's along with the 5%.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's
so
good.
So there's like 2 tiers of things here going on. You have the up to 5 NFTs to initially buy.
All right.
Virtue Poker to get all those benefits. Those 5 NFTs, if you buy all 5 or whatever, how many ever you buy, those are your numbers of drawings that you have or chances in the drawing. Once you get that, once the winner is chosen, the winner gets the special Phil Ivey NFT with his signature.
All right.
And 5% of his poker action in the $50,000 WSOP Players Championship. And like I said, last year's event, a poker player by the name of Dan Cates won. He won $1 million.
Wow. Okay.
So that'd be a chance at $50,000.
You think? Maybe. Who knows? I don't even know what
more. It could be less.
Yeah. Who knows?
But there's a chance. I mean, if you go by last year's amount, you're getting $50,000.
Exit 4.
For the last exit today, we're going to stay in the metaverse.
The metaverse. Okay.
I have to start using that. I mean, I want to call it the internet, but it's the metaverse now.
Okay.
We're going to be talking SimWin Sports.
SimWin Sports.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
And I have to thank the Backstreet Boys for turning me on to this company.
Okay. I'm not sure what that reference means, but all right.
I'll tell you what.
Okay. All right.
SimWin Sports is the world's first, and this is their description, the world's first digital sports leagues that provides daily fantasy and eSports fans the ability to watch, predict, collect, play, and earn 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay,
it's
this
basically a virtual sports league run by NFTs.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole.
Is this
bunch of
just
stuff.
all NFTs?
Everything is NFTs, but this is also fantasy sports.
Isn't this how
and esports.
Skynet started? Isn't this like the Terminator
Basically.
beginning? Oh my
Basically.
God! Everything's NFTs. All right.
But the teams are owned by specific people,
All right.
and specific people include Jerry Rice,
Wow.
Marshall Falk, Tracy McGrady, LaMelo Ball, Jamie Gold, the poker player,
Okay.
and a whole bunch of other ones. I looked at the website. There's at least 15 people there. There's producers. There's a couple actors on there. And what they do is they buy the franchises.
All right.
And the franchises are expensive.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. They have a whole list of what was sold and what was bought, the most recent ones.
All right.
The most recent one, a team called the Minotaurs,
All right.
sold for $1.75 million.
And this is a virtual team
This is a
on the
virtual-
metaverse. Did I
yes.
get that right? Did
You
I
got
use
it.
the terminology
They
right?
have their own virtual
How
stadiums.
much now?
$1.75 million.
See, something like that, I would think they'd use cryptocurrency. Just be futuristic as possible. Just
Use
use
Bitcoin?
it. Yeah, use Bitcoin
Well,
or something
with
like
Bitcoin
that.
fluctuating, all the cryptocurrency.
So they actually
fluctuating
spent
too much.
$1.2 million,
$1.75
$1.75 million on a
Yes.
virtual team in a virtual league in a virtual universe.
All the teams in the
Okay.
in the league,
All right.
all the teams in the league, there's multiple of them, range or have an asking price starting at $2 million to $4 million. Somebody bought the Minotaurs for $1.75 million.
So what is the Minotaurs?
It's a fantasy football team that you use NFTs to create your team with.
Okay.
You buy your NFTs
All right.
and you make a team using your NFTs.
Interesting.
And just to give you an example of how expensive some of these are, the team named Poseidon, brand new team they just put on the market.
And what kind of team is that?
This is another football.
Another
team.
football
This
team.
is really only football right now.
Okay. All right.
$3.5 million is the asking price.
Wow.
The Yeti, all right, the asking price is $3.25 million.
Okay. Now, it's unbelievable. But now, so are people actually playing fantasy sports or
The people log in to
esports
go,
on it now with it?
They go to SimWin Sports.
All right.
They log in.
SimWin Sports.
SimWin Sports.
Is that a .com thing
It's
or
a .io.
.io? SimWin
That's the other domain name for a
Sports
lot of these things.
.io. Okay.
.io. That's an extension being used for a lot of NFT.
Now, do you have a membership? Do you join a membership, or how do you play in this
You
thing?
join, and what you do is you become basically almost like a sports agent type of situation where you can actually acquire, train, draft, trade, sell the NFTs representing certain players on the team.
Wow.
And make your team that way. And you can play
And
as a person.
Okay.
You can play in a fantasy league, season long, daily, however you want to do it, and win prizes that way. And as your team begins to win and win and win, you can grow in stature and actually become possibly one of the major franchises.
Okay. Interesting.
But the NFTs that are the team franchises, they play against each other.
All right.
So
okay.
the owners play against each other, and they run a league.
All right. It's interesting. So
It's basically
I'll check it out.
It's actually an NFL NFT metaverse, if you want to look at it that way.
Okay.
Very interesting, but like I said, the only reason I knew about this, I saw the press release because Nick Carter, one of the Backstreet Boys, actually acquired a team.
Wow.
He
okay.
bought the Tampa Bay Bull Sharks.
All right.
Price undisclosed.
Okay. All right.
But, I saw that, and
Well, I'll certainly check it out. Yeah.
Because it seemed like such an interesting idea.
It is.
It's different.
And today's trip down the Turnpike was brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using our promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com.
And as always, you can get in touch with Turnpike Sports by calling or texting us at 609-512-5910. That's 609-512-5910. At Turnpike Sports is the show's handle on Facebook and Twitter. at Turnpike Sports Radio is our handle on Instagram. And as always, our email address is info@turnpikesportsradio.com. And don't forget, you can listen to the show via Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, radio.com mobile app, as well as Stitcher and YouTube. You can also watch us on your smart TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV. Head on over to turnpikesports.net. You'll be able to watch our video channel there.
Well, we got a great show coming up. We got a Beatin The House segment. And right after this, I'm talking with Jill Dorson from USBets.com, SportsHandle, and Better Collective. She's going to give us a rundown of the biggest sports betting news and legislation around the country. So stick around. We'll be right back with more Turnpike Sports.
Yeah, you, come here. Haven't you heard? We don't need to hide anymore.
Now, we can shop privately for adult products at adamandeve.com. They've got massage oils, lingerie, and lots more we can't mention here. Use offer code SPICE404. They'll give you 50% off almost any one item, 3 free DVDs, free mystery gift, and free shipping. That's 50% off, free shipping, and more. Private shopping starts at adamandeve.com.
Welcome back to Turnpike Sports. Interesting things are happening in the sports betting industry across this country. Maine became the first state in 2022 to legalize sports betting. Vermont has some interesting proposed legislation, and California is getting closer to legalize sports betting. And by the way, everything I know about Maine, Vermont, and California, I learned from Jill Dorson, who is a great writer from SportsHandle.com and Better Collective. And Jill Dorson happens to be on the line with us right now. Jill, thanks for coming on.
Sure, happy to be here.
First off, welcome to the show. I've really enjoyed your writing for a long time, and I'm glad we get a chance to talk with you on the show. I mean, you've written about sports for over 30 years. You've covered the Raiders in 2003 when they went to the Super Bowl, and now you're covering the sports betting industry. I want to ask you, when you were covering sports 5, 10, 15 years ago, did you ever think that the sports betting industry would become what it is now? I mean, did you ever think that the professional leagues would ever accept sports betting?
Well, to be honest, I never really gave it a lot of thought. But no, I mean, it's been interesting, obviously, the major turnaround from all of the sports leagues, particularly the NFL and, most recently the NCAA, embracing sports betting and recognizing that, maybe they don't recognize that there's a benefit in terms of integrity, but recognizing that there's money to be made and a safe way to do it. And so partnering with the people who know what they're doing is a good way to go.
Now, one of the big stories in sports betting that you've been doing a great job covering on SportsHandle.com is what's going on in California. I'm here on the East Coast, and for the last year, we've been obsessed with sports betting in New York. I mean, first, when will New York launch sports betting? How it's going to affect the other states? And now we're all marveling at the crazy numbers and figures coming out of that market. And in the meantime, a giant state out west was inching closer to allowing sports betting. How did the sports betting debate in California start? Was there some lawmaker who introduced the bill? Did the sports books make a big push to get that issue front and center? How did the sports betting ball in California start rolling?
California has a lot of different factions. It's a very different situation than most other states. There are 60 tribes that offer gaming here in California, and they have the exclusive right under the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act to offer casino gaming. And so, there have been bills in the state legislature. They've been essentially killed by the tribes because the tribes want to have control of what sports betting will look like here, when it's coming, whether it will be digital or retail. And so the point that we're at now is that there's one initiative that's qualified for the ballot, and that's been put forth by a group of tribes. It's for retail-only sports betting. So you could wager at Indian casinos and 4 racetracks here. And there's a second initiative that's been put forth by a group of 7 operators, led by BetMGM, DraftKings, and FanDuel that is in the signature verification process. So that means they've collected all the signatures they need to get their initiative on the ballot, and they're just waiting for the Secretary of State to say, yep, you have enough that are good enough and you're on. So it's we've been heading to this point for more than a year, actually, and it's setting up a big fight because everybody in the state is taking sides whether or not they're going to support the commercial operators or whether or not they're going to support the tribes.
So just to be clear, how many different proposals will California have on their ballot as we talk right now, and is there a chance that there could be even more proposals as time goes on?
Yeah, so originally there were 4 put out there. There will be 2 on the ballot and potentially a third one in 2024, depending what happens this year. So one proposal put forth by the card rooms here failed to collect enough signatures by their deadline, and a proposal by a, second group of tribes for digital and retail sports betting announced just this week that they were going to pull back and not look at the 2022 ballot, but go for the 2024 ballot. And I think that that's on the assumption that with 2 initiatives on this ballot this year, that neither one will pass, which is a real possibility.
I have a question about that. The fact that there are more than one proposal, does that concern anyone? I mean, is there fear
it concerns everyone.
Okay, is there's some concern that like the voters will be confused or not knowing what they're voting for? Is that why that one was pulled back with regard to the Native American tribes?
So I couldn't say exactly why they decided to pull back. I mean, in theory, yes, the idea is that they think that nothing will pass this year. And so they're just positioning themselves for 2024. But yeah, it's a huge concern. Political consultants will tell you that if you have multiple initiatives on the same issue, that it's really hard to get voters to understand, which one to vote for or which one is quote unquote better. So they either, they don't vote at all, I guess, on those. And here, it's a fine line. The tribes have a retail initiative, limiting just to in-person betting, and the commercial operators have an initiative that's simply for digital. So if you're lobbying against each other, it's hard, I think, to make people understand the difference between retail and digital because the average person, doesn't know, doesn't care. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And, if both of them go all the way till November. I'm told that by June 30th, you can withdraw an initiative. So, I'm watching closely and listening around to see if one side is going to pull their initiative and leave only one on the ballot, meaning that both sides, the person who's still on the ballot or the group that's still on the ballot can put all of their money into getting approval, and the people who have pulled their initiative can put all of their money into opposing it.
Now, you mentioned the card rooms in California. What's going on with that situation, and what is the card rooms issue with regard to sports betting in California?
Well, so there's long been a lot of animosity between the card rooms and the tribes, and I would not pretend to know what all of it is, but the net result is that the tribes believe that they have exclusivity to gaming in California under IGRA, and under their compacts and state law. And the card rooms, continue to offer card games. And the tribes view that as an infringement on their exclusivity. And there have been multiple lawsuits over time with regard to all of this. And so there's a lot of animosity. Those two groups are never going to be on the same side of the issue.
Yeah, I'm curious. Has there been any polling or there has been any forecasting with regard to how likely these measures will be received by the California voters? Are lawmakers and sportsbook operators thinking that these measures will pass, or one or more of these measures will pass?
So I guess a two-part answer. One, both of these measures could pass.
Okay.
The operator's measure is strictly digital, and the tribal one is strictly retail. So they are considered on the ballot complementary to each other. The tribe wouldn't want both of them to pass. The operators probably don't care if both of them pass. So I guess that's kind of the starting point. And I apologize because I forgot the question.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see how likely people in California think these will pass. I mean,
the polling.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of polling, but I'm going to be
polling?
honest, and I actually said this to somebody the other day. I'm sort of done with it from both the operator side and the tribal side, because they send out press releases, once a week or every other week with, new polling numbers and saying what people are in support of and what they're not in support of, but neither side wants to reveal the raw data or exactly what the question was. So, the latest thing is that on the tribal side, they say that 53% of people that they poll do not support digital gaming. And on the operator side, they say that 59% do support digital gaming. But just to be clear, the initiative that was put out there by BetMGM, DraftKings, and FanDuel is tied to solving California's homelessness problem, and would bring hundreds of millions of dollars into the state. And so from a political standpoint, they're, running their referendum on the homeless issue, and sports betting is almost an afterthought in terms of advertising and things like that.
Well, you mentioned advertising, and the one thing I've read in your articles on SportsHandle.com is that there's a lot of advertising money being spent on this issue in California. Give us an idea of who is spending the advertising money in the state, and how effective are those ads in the state?
Sure. I mean, what I can tell you now, and I live in San Diego County, is that I've been seeing ads put out by different tribal groups that essentially say to California's voters, we've been running gaming in this state for 30 years, and you trust us and we'll take care of you. And let's all make an effort to keep out-of-state operators out of state, or to not give them control of gaming here, or sports betting. Sorry, not gaming. So I've seen several of those ads. On the other side of things, the operators haven't really ramped up their television ads yet. They're, I'm sure, still waiting to make sure 100% that they're on the ballot. But both sides have committed hundreds of millions of dollars toward their advertising campaign, and they'll take advantage of everything from television to social media to billboards. I saw an LA Times ad that I can't honestly remember which side it was for, but I was just interested that I saw it. So there's a lot out there. And, what the messaging says in the end is going to be really critical in terms of getting voters to understand, not necessarily what the issues are, but where to fall or where they want you to fall on the issue.
Well, if these proposals are given a yes vote by the voters of California, what are the next steps the state has to go through in order to launch sports betting? Are there still issues with regard to tribes that need to be worked out prior to the launch of sports betting? So, having never been through this process this closely before, I can tell you what I understand is it will happen, and hopefully I'm right. But in California, when you have a ballot initiative, you actually write the law. So unlike a state like Louisiana or Maryland, or I guess more Louisiana, where they had to then go back through the state legislature, the referendum there was, do we want to have sports betting, yes or no? And then the legislature determined what that would look like. Here in California, it's not that way. So these initiatives are, 60, 70, 100 pages long. They spell out all of the rules from, taxes to what you can bet on, to whether or not you're tethered to a tribal casino, et cetera, et cetera. So my understanding is that if the tribal initiative passes, the retail only, they could move pretty quickly because they're regulated by a tribal council versus by the state. The state would have some say in that. But the tribes, I believe, could probably go live with in-person sports betting within a few months. Wow, really?
On the operator's side, they'll be regulated by the state. So the state obviously has to work through all of the regulations and do a launch, and that tends to take longer. But I'll be perfectly upfront and tell you that I'm not 100% sure what that process will be, but I just think it'll take longer if it's on the operator side.
So, yeah, I was curious. I mean, if everything's approved, has anyone given a time frame when sports betting could start in California? Did they say,
Sure.
maybe next year, maybe 2 years? Or...
No, it'll be shorter than that.
Okay.
And I was going to say I should correct myself. Well, I think that the tribes could offer wagering really quickly. I believe that in their initiative, the start date is September 2023. But, I mean, still not so long. It'll be 10 months after the initiative passes. And the operators one, I don't have it handy, but it's also sometime in 2023. So, if one or both of those passes, people should be betting by the 2023 football season.
I did some calculations. In terms of pro teams, California has 3 hockey teams, 5 baseball teams, 3 football teams, 4 basketball teams, and I'm not even counting the huge number of college teams the state have. Everyone in the past said once New York got mobile sports betting, that's a game changer for the sports betting industry. I got to tell you, if California gets sports betting, I think it would dwarf New York's numbers. I mean, in your opinion, is the real game changer for the sports betting industry is when California gets sports betting?
It's interesting, right? I live here, so I have a little bit of a different perspective, I think, than people who don't live here. And I grew up in New England as a Red Sox fan.
Oh, okay.
I understand the northeastern market in New York maybe a little bit better than people who haven't been there, having worked in that area too. California's got 40 million people. I think it's a game changer, for the operators in terms of potential revenue. I can tell you from living in on both sides of the country that the passion for sports here is not the same as it is in the Northeast. And so while you have a larger group of people to cull from, I'm not sure that you have the rabid fan base that you have in, New York or Boston or Philadelphia. So it's definitely a game changer. I mean, the operators are willing to spend, $200 million to get this on the ballot. So that tells you something. And that's significantly more, I'm sad to say, about what they spent in Florida trying to get an initiative on that failed. And so Florida's half as many people again as here. So I think it's a game changer in some ways, but it's a unique situation because it's the tribes will have a hand in sports betting here, and they don't in New York so much. I mean, there's a small group, but they're not nearly as powerful as the tribes here.
Well, let me switch gears to an East Coast state, which took me by complete surprise, and that's Maine. I mean, even though even though I'm in New Jersey, I have an office in Massachusetts, and I found out that Maine passed sports betting while sitting in my office in Massachusetts reading SportsHandle and your article, and not from any news outlet in Massachusetts, which was kind of strange. Now, a lot of people I've talked to in sports betting industry were kind of surprised that Maine legalized sports betting, but should they have been surprised, and were we all the signs pointing to the fact that Maine was going to allow sports betting?
So I would say that I'm not surprised at all that Maine legalized this year. I am surprised at how they legalized. And it's a fine point to make. In 2019, the state legislature there passed what at the time would have been considered one of the most open competitive marketplace bills in the country. You would have been able to have digital platforms that didn't have to be tethered to anything. There was no cap on the number of operators that could be in the state. And the tax rate, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was pretty favorable, so probably 10% or less. The governor there in 2020, just ahead of the pandemic, vetoed that bill, and the legislature couldn't get enough votes to override the veto. So it's been coming for a long time, but there's been a fight there. The governor of Maine is not a big proponent of gambling. There are a handful of casinos there, brick and mortar casinos, that would prefer to have a situation where, they're kind of in control by having operators tethered to them. Anyway, long story short, the legislature came back this year, which was the soonest that they could under their rules, and they passed a similar bill to the one that they had passed in 2019, last summer, 2021. The only difference was that it had to be tethered. You had to be tethered to a casino.
Okay.
The guy who was carrying the bill quit and went to go work for a state agency, a federal agency, though I can't remember what one, and the bill sort of languished and has been sitting on what's called the appropriations table in Maine since last July. And then out of nowhere, a couple of months ago, the governor decided that sports betting was going to become a political football that she could use to mollify the tribes there who do not have the same kind of tribal sovereignty that tribes in other states have.
Okay.
So rather than giving them their sovereignty or granting them their sovereignty, she offered them the opportunity to have sports betting. And that bill passed, and I remember the first time I saw it, I called a couple of operator sources, and I was like, what the hell is this? They were like, we don't know. And they didn't know. And that bill got pushed through by the governor and is now law. So in Maine, there will be 4 platforms, one each tethered to the 4 federally recognized tribes. Unfortunately, the tribes there don't have any experience in gaming, so it's going to be kind of an interesting experience. And then the 2 casinos there, owned by Churchill Downs and Penn National Gaming, have essentially, I've been saying they've been shut out of digital gaming, which is not 100% true. They actually could partner with a tribe.
Okay.
There's nothing that says they can't, but they won't be able to run it themselves. So they can't get licensed for digital gaming. So they can't have, for example, the Penn National Casino can't have its own Barstool platform, but it could partner with a tribe and then have a Barstool platform. So, yeah, it was not surprising that it passed. It was the how and what it now looks like.
So all in all, how many licenses are we talking about, and who's going to have these licenses?
In Maine?
Yeah,
4.
in Maine. 4?
4.
Okay.
Yeah. And the licensed entity will be each of the 4 tribes there.
Okay.
And then the Penn National and Churchill Downs will each get a license for retail gaming or retail sports betting, so they can obviously offer in their casinos in-person betting. And then some OTBs will also be able to offer in-person betting.
So what is the next steps for Maine in order to launch sports betting? Are they formulating rules now, or are they in the licensing phase?
No.
What are they doing right now?
I actually talked to the person, Milt Champion, who runs the gambling control unit there, and they're tasked with regulation, and it's going to be a while, probably a year to 18 months, and part of that is just the administrative process in Maine. It's not unusual. Ohio has had a similarly long process, but their law included a firm start date, so they'll be done in a year. But it's, there's a lot of hoops to jump through on the administrative and legislative side. So the law in Maine does not become effective until 90 days after the governor signed it. So that's on or about August 2nd. Between now and then, the gambling control unit is starting to develop draft regulations. And Milt said that in a perfect world, he'd be able to present those to stakeholders for review on August 2nd. But, it takes a long time. There's a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross, and everyone seems to think that once somebody's legalized, they can launch tomorrow. And, while the biggest operators probably have the ability to do that, there's so much other stuff that has to happen that, even if Milt were able to get the regs out on August 2nd for review, there's then public comment period, and he's going to hold a hearing, blah, blah, blah. And then once all of that's done, in Maine, there's 2 government entities that have to sign off. I think it's the Attorney General's office and the Secretary of State. And, they could take a couple of months to sign off before they do anything. So once that's all done, which probably takes us at least to the end of the year, they can open the application process. And I'd say the average for an application process is 90 days. There's a lot to do when somebody applies for a sports betting license in terms of, verifying backgrounds and financials and stuff like that. And the regulators really have no control on how long some of that takes because they're dealing with agencies from other governments or other states or the federal government. And, if the FBI doesn't want to give you a background check in a week, then they take 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So So it all takes a while.
So in terms of Maine, I mean, realistically, earliest, I would guess, end of 2023, probably into 2024. That's when people from Maine can expect to start placing bets?
So Milt was hoping spring of 2023 in the best case scenario.
Okay.
And so he's saying anytime between spring of 2023 and January 1st, 24.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, I think he's trying to what's the phrase? Under promise and over deliver.
Yeah, right. If Maine took me by surprise, there's another New England state that just blew me away when I found out about this, and that is Vermont. Give us the latest of what's coming out of Vermont. In terms of sports betting, what are they talking about in Vermont?
Yeah, it's a pretty short answer.
Yep.
Somebody filed a bill in April. It's not, from the industry perspective, a great bill, but the session's going to close, I think, in a week or 2 weeks, and the bill hasn't actually been filed. At least it wasn't earlier this week. So it's highly unlikely that Vermont's going to pass sports betting. They've been a little bit sort of mucking around with it the last couple of years, looking at study bills. Let's go and pass a bill and study what sports betting would do for our state. So the bill that was filed, or the bill that was drafted, is probably just sitting there and, could potentially be, the groundwork for next year when they actually get it done. But Vermont has not shown much of an appetite actually or interest for having sports betting.
Well, Vermont doesn't even have casinos, so I that's what shocked me when I saw. Did the bill actually kind of look like something like Tennessee has? I mean, no retail sports books. Everything with their sports betting industry would be online. Is that what they're proposing?
Yeah, it would be an online only. And I'm actually just looking up my story because I'm like, I can't even remember because I've done so many other things this week. It would allow 6 mobile platforms. And it would the lottery would run it, so they'd have to go through a bidding process, which is similar to the way that New Hampshire set up their law. And it would probably have a pretty high tax rate to go along with that.
Okay.
So I don't think that anything's going to happen any time quickly. I mean, New Hampshire doesn't really have casinos. They have, I guess, some charitable casinos in the state. But the lottery there opened the bidding process and actually very transparent, moved pretty quickly, but they ended up only taking one platform, and that was DraftKings, in exchange for a high tax rate. So Vermont looks like it's going to mirror what New Hampshire did.
Okay.
When and if they actually file the bill and take action on it.
So I want to get your opinion. We have Maine as the first state to legalize sports betting in 2022. Kansas just signed the sports betting. So what is the next state we should be looking for? What's your guess? If you had to place a bet on the next state to legalize sports betting, what would it be? Well,
in terms of what's going on right at this moment in time, it would be California because it's really the only one that's really active. There's a bill in Minnesota but it seems to have kind of not gotten past committee. I mean, it's gotten past committee and onto the House floor, but nobody's taking it up to vote on it. So I'm going to assume that they don't have the votes there to do what they have to do. There's still a sports betting bill, I think, in play in North Carolina, but if I'm being honest, that's not one of the states that I've been covering, so I don't know exactly what's going on, but that bill has been being bandied about in North Carolina for a couple of years. So, if somebody makes a deal somewhere, that could move fast. And the only other state really in play, I guess, is Massachusetts, where sports betting has gone to a conference committee, which has about 2 or 3 months to sort out what sports betting would look like and bring it back to the House and Senate, who can then decide whether or not they are going to move forward.
What is your guess about Massachusetts? I mean, like I said, I have an office up there. I've been to there's a was it Encore Boston Harbor? You go to they have a WinBet sports bar. It's just a sports bar, but when you go in there, they have all the windows ready. If they pass it, they can probably have people behind there in no time flat. But it's just it's shocking that they're taking so long. I mean, they're the corporate headquarters for DraftKings.
Yep, you sound like me. So
I was like, I'm standing in the middle of a casino. I'm looking at empty windows ready to be filled, and I'm just, what's taking so long?
It's a very good question. All signs point to the Senate President, Karen Spilka, not being a big fan of gambling in general, and slowing down the process. Mm-hmm. And it just is a state, much like Missouri, where the session closed either last night or this morning and they won't get it done, where there's no real opposition.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of politics going on and people who don't agree with each other. And at the moment, the House and the Senate are still in very different places in terms of whether or not to allow betting on college sports, what the tax rate would be, and various other things. And until they can come to an agreement on that, it's not going to get passed. Mm-hmm. And then even if a bill comes out of conference, in theory, then it's supposed to run pretty smoothly through the legislature or the general court, as it were, in Massachusetts. But it's not clear that it will, because the lawmakers there just don't seem to agree at all on what they want. And Karen Spilka has been slow to bring up sports betting at all. So the fact that it's in conference committee is an exciting thing. My feeling is it went to conference committee to die. A lot of other people think that it still has a chance.
Jill, we're running out of time, but can you give people out a website where they can go and read your articles, and give out any social media address you want to give out so people can keep up with what you're doing?
Sure. The website is SportsHandle.com. And I don't have any social media whatsoever, but you can check out at SportsHandle.com.
Okay.
I'm sorry, at SportsHandle on Twitter. Now I have to look it up. Isn't that embarrassing? Where everybody on our staff tweets. And then once you're on the SportsHandle.com site, you'll see some bylines from Matt Rybeltowski, Chris Altruda, Bennett Conlin, and they all have their own Twitter accounts. Let's see. So there's at sports_handle.
Okay.
And that is our staff site. And then there's at US_bets, which is our sister site, US Bets. And then obviously you'll find various reporters who have their own social media.
Oh, great.
But I lay low there.
Jill Dorson from SportsHandle, USBets.com, and Better Collective, thanks so much for coming on and giving us an update about what's going on in the sports betting industry. I think incredible things are happening in California, Maine, and Vermont, and I know more news is going to come out of those states as well as other states. So I hope you come back on and keep us updated about what's going on in the sports betting world.
Well, sure. I appreciate you having me.
Stick around. We'll be right back with more Turnpike Sports.
With Drizzly, I can shop a huge selection of beer, wine, and liquor. I just open the app, find what I want, and it's at my door in under 60 minutes.
Drizzly also lets me shop from multiple stores in my area and compare prices on thousands of products.
Ding dong, Drizzly.
We'll get back to the show in a few moments, but I just wanted to take some time and tell everyone about Bean Genius, the smart specialty coffee subscription service. Bean Genius sells freshly roasted coffee from some of the best independent coffee roasters in the country. They feature over 2,000 specialty coffee blends, all at your fingertips at beangenius.com. Here's how it works. Head on over to beangenius.com and take their palate profiler test to find out what coffee best fits your taste. Then select from a variety of subscription plans. Every subscription comes with free shipping, and delivery can even be scheduled for once or twice each month. And based upon your review of each coffee blend you try, Bean Genius actually learns your individual taste preferences and then suggests future coffee blends for you. And now you can get 10% off your Bean Genius subscription when you use our promo code PIKE at checkout. Bean Genius offers a variety of subscription plans to suit any coffee lover's needs. Subscribe with Bean Genius today and start enjoying some of the best tasting coffee around. And save 10% off your coffee plan with promo code PIKE.
People gotta win sometime.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a giant, colorful check to deposit.
Beatin The House is brought to you by BetMGM Casino. Play your favorite casino games at BetMGM Online Casino. Slots, table games, live dealer games, everything you love about Atlantic City and Vegas, all online at BetMGM. Don't wait. Join in the fun now. Go to BetMGM Casino, create an account using our promo code Turnpike, and become a verified player. New players get $25 free when signing up, plus a first deposit bonus up to $1,000. That's promo code Turnpike at BetMGM.com for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus $25 free. Grab a lion's share of the fun at BetMGM.com. Must be 21 years or older to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And welcome to this week's edition of Beatin The House here at Turnpike Sports, where we're going to crisscross the country discussing the different casino and slot jackpots. We've got, sometimes we get poker, we get bad beats, we got lottery wins. Every week it's something different, and every week we actually start learning about some of these new games that are out there and even some classic ones.
Yeah. The WSOP is going on right now in Vegas.
What's expecting
that? Yeah, right. I'm expecting some big poker jackpots in the next coming week. So, some big poker wins.
What I may do for the WSOP is I may actually, once we get a little further along down the line, because they have a ton of events going on.
Sure.
I may do a list of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Because every day somebody's winning something there. So
absolutely. Yeah.
And if you're a poker player, that's heaven for you.
Oh yeah.
Especially in the new digs.
Yeah, the first time ever on the Vegas Strip.
Yeah.
So should be interesting.
So it's they should be having a fun time with that. But for this week's Beatin The House, we're going to start in Vegas.
All right.
And we're going to start with, and I want to get my notes right here, we're going to start at the California Hotel and Casino, Las Vegas.
We had them one time before, a couple weeks ago.
We've had a couple of them.
Okay.
Another Hawaiian visitor.
Yeah, that
seems to be the Hawaiian
That's the
hangout.
place. I mean, I guess if you live in Hawaii, Vegas is the place to go
I'm
for
thinking
vacation.
the California Hotel is the big spot for Hawaiian visitors. We have another visiting person from Hawaii, identified only as Antonio.
Okay.
Kind of a non-Hawaiian name.
Antonio
from Hawaii turned $1 into more than $55,000.
Wow.
On a lucky hand of Pai Gow Poker.
Pai Gow. All right.
According to Boyd,
he bet $1 on Pai Gow Poker?
Yes.
Okay.
Then this is not.
Don't these tables have limits? Or I'm surprised it's like he can bet $1 on Pai Gow Poker.
You mean minimum wise?
Yeah, minimum wise. Don't they have minimums?
Well, I think depending on when you're playing too.
Okay, yeah.
But according to Boyd Gaming, Antonio, I love that name for a guy from Hawaii, pulled a 5-ace hand.
All right.
And won the jackpot totaling $55,296. I pulled that one out because 5 aces.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yes. That tells you you're playing with more than one deck, too.
Yeah. So but I got to jump online now. I'm going to do $1 now from Pai Gow Poker. That's the greatest thing about online. I mean, you can play all these games for like really cheap money. It's the only place you can go and play a cash game of poker for 1-2 cent limits.
Yes.
So what's micro stakes? That's what they call them.
Staying in Vegas, Treasure Island.
Okay.
Did their recap of the month of May. We're in June now, so they're doing May.
All right.
They had 6 jackpots of $10,000 handed out at Treasure Island. One was on Dancing Drum Grand Jackpot. There's another new.
That's a new Dancing Drum
variation.
Okay.
Dancing Drum bonus.
All right.
We have the Tufu bonus. That's another Asian themed game, obviously.
Okay.
The Locket Link Grand slot.
Okay, I've heard of Locket Link. The only place I've heard Locket Link is here, but
they're all over the place.
So, even
the Atlantic City casinos have a bunch of them too. A guy won $10,000 on the Cash Machine slot machine.
Cash Machine slot machine.
That's an older one.
Okay.
And then we have the Lightning Link bonus slot machine. Somebody won $20,000 off that.
Wow.
At Treasure Island.
Lightning Link.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Link games seem to actually pay out a lot too in Vegas. I've been noticing that.
Doesn't Bally's in Atlantic City have a Lightning Link lounge?
As a matter of fact,
they
have. Well, it's not a lounge. It's actually a room.
It's
of
like a room.
Lightning Link slots.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was like, where have I heard that before? And I just realized I was in Bally's the last couple of days. And,
matter of fact, I'll have to pull out a picture.
Yeah,
I have a little video of it too.
Oh, you actually have a Lightning
Link video from
picture
Bally's.
of the Lightning Link area. I don't want to
Bally's.
call it a lounge.
It was a room. It was a room.
So.
You know, some places in Vegas have the Buffalo Link rooms or the Buffalo Grand rooms.
So Bally's in Atlantic City has a Lightning Link room.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, it's on your way.
I knew I heard of.
If you start walking
before.
through the casino floor, it's through. You go through the casino floor. It's on your way to go right around to the FanDuel Sportsbook.
Well, let me tell you. I remember coming out of the FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's, and I made a right, and I just followed the wall, and it was kind of like right there, right?
Yes.
Am I in the right direction? Okay.
We're going to stay in Vegas for 2 more jackpots. Stations Casino, we have a guest who chose to remain anonymous.
Okay.
Made a $6 bet playing the Super Lock Progressive when they hit for $156,000.
Wow, okay.
So $6 and $156,000. And what was funny about this was earlier the week that this happened, earlier in that week, Stations had teased out on Twitter what the Progressive jackpot was.
Okay.
And at that time, it was $153,000. So this
and what
person,
did this person win?
156.
Wow. Okay.
So it went up by 3,000 by the end of the week, whenever that happened.
It pays to promote your progressive jackpots.
I wonder if that had any influence, because I don't know if the guy was actually paying attention to Twitter, and it may just been coincidence.
Who knows?
Staying in Vegas, like I said, we go to Harrah's, Las Vegas. A Caesars Rewards member, and they have the name here, Chad Layden. That's the person's name. Hit a jackpot of $253,746. He was playing Pai Gow.
More Pai Gow.
More Pai Gow. He hit the jackpot with 5 aces in his hand, another 5-ace jackpot. And it's kind of interesting to see 2 5-ace hands winning.
You got my juices flowing now. I think later on today I'm going to hop online and play some Pai Gow.
You're going to play some Pai Gow. Huh?
Wait, where was this at?
This was at Harrah's, Las Vegas.
Okay, I
gotta find out how many rewards points you get for winning a progressive jackpot. I gotta look that up.
I don't know. I have not won a progressive jackpot, so I couldn't tell you. So, but no, like I said, you got my juices flowing about Pai Gow. So maybe later today I'll go jump online and play some Pai Gow poker.
Well, we're going to be leaving the West Coast, and we're going to Oklahoma now.
All right.
Randlet, Oklahoma.
All right.
The Comanche Red River Casino.
Mm-hmm.
A Iowa Park resident, which is a local area, so he's considered a local.
Okay.
He hit, I want to get the number right, he hit on a $2 bet, a $251,000 jackpot.
That's great.
Playing the 50 Lions Legend slot machine. This is 2 weeks in a row we've had a 50 Lions jackpot.
Oh, okay.
So the other one was in Nevada. This one's in Oklahoma.
All right.
And
I love stories like that. You know, like with the $1 bet or the $2 bet, even the $6 bet was great. It's sometimes these stories. It's great that everyone, like when someone wins and the 200,000, 300,000, but when you find out, oh yeah, no, they were betting $150 to spin.
Yeah.
It kind of loses some of its luster, but I like it to hear when it's like $1 or $2 or $6.
There are actually 2 different types of stories that are really cool. One where it's just like a $1 bet, or it's his last dollar,
or it's his last dollar. He's walking out of the casino, throws it in. Yeah, no, that's always good.
Or when you're over in Nevada. You got a guy who, right before he boards his plane, throws $1 into a slot machine and wins big.
Well, you can. They have.
Do you miss your plane to do the check?
They have the greatest. Nevada has the greatest airports you can actually play. You can do slot machines, or I don't know if they have table games, but you can.
They have
play
slots everywhere in McCarran, or what is it now? Harry Reid.
Yeah,
Harry Reid Airport, Memorial Airport. So, there are a couple different ways you can win jackpots, especially in Nevada out there. All right, we're leaving Oklahoma and moving to the East Coast. We're going to Encore Boston Harbor.
Which, by the way, has been paying out a lot of jackpots lately.
I think
I follow them on Twitter, and I'm seeing a lot of winners. And by the way, they call it a big win, WYNN.
Yes, well, every win property does that.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
It's not just Encore Boston Harbor.
No, they're not
that clever.
They're not the only clever ones?
No.
Okay.
No. But Encore, actually, we've had Encore Boston Harbor on this segment maybe
a lot. They're
4 or 5 weeks out of the last 10.
That's a lot. Yeah, so, they're paying out.
Yes. And also, they're getting better at publicizing it, because now they're talking about what the games are.
And they're getting us talking about it, too.
I remember the first time we saw one of their promotions that somebody won, they just announced the number, the amount that they won. They didn't say the game. They didn't say how much they bet. They didn't say, they didn't even put their names up.
I think enough people, when they put it on social media, they ask, well, what's the game and stuff like that.
They're learning. They're learning how to do it.
No, it's they're doing great there. Boy, they're paying out a lot of jackpots.
Well, we have a Super 4 jackpot. And actually, we had this type of jackpot down closer to home with the live casino Philly, because they do Super 4 blackjack too.
All right.
Same game, Super 4 blackjack. This is a kind of a combination of poker and blackjack together.
So it's a table game.
This is a table game.
Okay.
It's a progressive blackjack side bet based on the 4 cards you combine with your 2 of yours and 2 of the dealers.
Okay.
You make the best hand possible.
All right.
This person had a royal flush in spades.
All right.
And won $254,000.
Wow. Good for him.
And
I'm saying him. I'm assuming it's a him because you're saying it's a him.
I'm saying it's a person.
Okay. So they didn't give the name out.
They gave a name out, but they didn't show a picture of the person. So,
Okay.
and the name could go either way.
Okay.
So I
Right.
don't want to
Could
say
go
it's him or her.
Like Lynn,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Is that a man or a woman? Who knows?
I wish it was simple as Lynn.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it was a very unique name.
All right. Well, congratulations,
Yes.
whoever you are.
And like I said, this was the progressive blackjack side bet that
All
the
right.
person did. It was a $5 bet.
See, that's great. $5
That's the
bet.
side bet. Yes.
Nice. All right.
And we're going to end up in New Jersey.
All right.
We have 14 jackpots of over $100,000 over the last 2 weeks in Atlantic City casinos.
So this is all Atlantic City casinos.
This is online and brick and mortar.
Okay. Just in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
How many now?
14.
14 in 2 weeks.
I'm saying Atlantic City casinos.
A jackpot a day, huh?
The reason I'm saying
All right.
Atlantic City casinos is because they have to get the licenses through those casinos. So it's all Atlantic City, basically. 14 jackpots. Here we go. 2 jackpots playing DraftKings Craps.
Okay.
On April 24th.
All right.
$131,000, just under $132,000, and $109,000.
All right.
And I'm just going to run right through
Yeah,
these.
I'm not going to interrupt. You can go run right through them. So.
April 25th, I had $100,000 on BorgataCasino.com. That's the online playing Sportex, NYX Gaming's Jin Jai Bao Ji Endless Treasure slot. I'm not saying that again.
Yeah. What was
Whatever
that again?
it was, yes.
Excuse me?
We have a $139,000 jackpot on Betfair Casino playing Divine Fortune.
All right.
Always see Divine Fortune in this segment. $200,000 on GoldenNuggetCasino.com playing Every's Golden Nugget Stepper slot. That's one of the ones Every designed for that online casino.
All right.
$102,000 on BorgataCasino.com playing Capital Gains slot. $258,000 on DraftKings.com playing Ultimate Texas Hold'em.
Okay.
$122,000 on Tropicana. This is the brick and mortar playing Crystal 7 slot by IGT.
All right.
$101,000 on the Borgata Casino website, the online casino, BorgataCasino.com, playing Kings of Crystals. That's a very interesting game to play online. I've played it a couple times in different areas.
So your last 2 jackpots involved the word crystal, huh?
Yes. There's a theme there,
There's
I guess.
a theme. Everything's crystal in New Jersey.
We have $277,000 at CaesarsCasino.com. That's the online site playing Divine Fortune.
All right.
Another Divine Fortune jackpot there. $100,000 at the brick and mortar Borgata location playing IGT's Double Double Bonus Poker, the video poker machine.
Okay.
At $142,000 at the brick and mortar Borgata as well, playing Bally's Locket Link Huff and Puff.
Now,
the Huff and Puff is the theme of Three Little Pigs.
Okay, all right.
There's a wolf, there's a pig.
I was trying to figure out where that was going, but okay.
Yes.
All right.
And on May 12th, we had two other jackpots. $157,000 at the brick and mortar Borgata again.
All right.
Playing Bally's Do Fu Do Cow
All right.
Diamond Eternity slot machine.
All right.
And $100,000 playing IGT's 5-play Jacks or Better Poker, which is another video poker machine.
Okay.
So had a whole slew of, and by the way,
This is a big 2 weeks in Jersey, huh?
there were the Division of Gaming Enforcement lists 50,000 or more. There was at least another 20 that were 50,000.
Okay.
So there were a lot of jackpots being handed out in Atlantic City.
Well, the crowds are getting back to Atlantic
Yes.
City, so
Yes.
that means a lot more jackpots are being won.
I'm dying to see the weekend of Memorial Day.
Oh yeah. We don't
they
have the
had
numbers
crowds
for
down
that
there.
yet.
They
yeah.
had crowds.
Yeah.
So we won't know for that for another couple
week
of weeks
or so,
here.
yeah.
Because they do every 2 weeks. They update it and they put it up there. It's on the Division of Gaming Enforcement site. That is a great resource. If you're looking to see exactly how certain slot machines pay out, another great resource. That's it for this week's Beatin The House segment. Again, congratulations to all the winners we talked about. Keep those press releases coming in, casinos, lotteries, poker rooms, whatever you want. Send them on in. info@turnpikesportsradio.com, and we'll keep doing the segment.
And that'll do it for us this week. We'll see you next time on the Turnpike.